Hey guys, so we're moving on to the last set of notes for this time. We have the 3.6 notes, and this notes is still solving multi-step equations, but it's with distribution. So basically that first step that we learned about in the last examples or the last lesson is now going to be used, the get rid of the parentheses by distributing. So remember when it says get rid of parentheses, that means to distribute that number that's on the outside into both pieces, or multiply that number on the outside into both pieces. Okay? So these are a couple different ways. I'm going to show you both ways, sort of. I'm actually going to combine both of these steps, okay? So I'm still going to follow what we did in the last lesson, which is the 3.5 lesson, okay? And I'm going to follow the steps that are outlined. So the first step is to get rid of the parentheses. So notice that we do have parentheses this time. And in order to get rid of it, I'm going to take that 4 on the outside and I'm going to multiply it into both pieces. Okay? So when I do that, that's my first step. I've got 4 times v, which is 4v, plus 4 times 4, which is 16. Then I'm just going to rewrite the rest of my problem. I still have a plus 4v, still have an equals negative 32. From here, my next step is to combine like terms, okay? So notice that I have a 4v here and a positive 4v here. So if I combine those like terms, I've got 4v plus 4v is 8v. I still have a plus 16, and I still have an equals negative 32. Then from here, I'm going to get rid of the adding and subtracting first. So since there's a plus 16, I'm going to minus 16 and do the opposite from both sides. If I minus 16 from both sides of the equation, I get 8v, 16's go away, equals negative 48. And then 8v, remember, means 8 times v. So the opposite of times is dividing. And you're going to divide both sides by that 8 to get rid of it. Okay? So if I divide both sides by the 8, I now get v equals negative 48 divided by 8 is negative 6. Let's look at the next example. So in the next example, I'm going to do something that will hopefully help you guys out when you're working with problems, multi-step problems like these. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line down where the equal to sign is so that you can understand that there are two sides to this equation. There's a left side and there's a right side, okay? So your first step is always to get rid of those parentheses. So notice we have parentheses here. We have a 7 on the outside, so we're going to distribute or multiply that 7 into both pieces. So when we do that, we've got 7 times y is 7y, and 7 times 7 is 49. So I'm going to write plus 49. Then I'm just going to rewrite the rest of my problem. I still have a 2y plus that 7y, and I still have an equals negative 32. Okay? It is important that you write all these steps down in order to be able to solve these. The next step in the multi-step equations is to combine like terms. So notice I have a 2y plus a 7y. So 2y plus 7y is 9y. And if I copy down the rest of my problem, I still have a plus 49, and I still have the equals negative 32 over here. Now I have a two-step equation where I want to get rid of the adding and subtracting. Since 49 is being added to the 9y, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to subtract from both sides of my line, the 49 from both sides of my line. When I do that, I've got negative 32 minus 49 is negative 81. The 49s go away on the right side, and you have equals 9y. Then from there, 9y is the same thing as 9 times y. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to undo, and I'm going to divide by the 9 on both sides. When I do that, I get a final answer of y equals, the 9's go away there, negative 81 divided by 9 is negative 9. There's my final answer. Okay? Please make sure that you write down your steps. If you do not write down your steps, you will get lost in these multi-step equations. The next one is solving for the variable when variables are on both sides. So we're still going to follow these steps one by one, okay? So again, draw a line down the middle if you need help remembering where both sides of the equation are. First step, get rid of parentheses. Whoop. So notice I have this 9 times x plus 5. So to get rid of it, I'm going to distribute that 9 into both pieces. So I have 9 times x is 9x plus 9 times 5 is 45. So if I write down the rest of my problem, I've got equals negative 5x plus 3. The next step is to combine like terms or get my variables onto one side. So remember, if I want to get my variables together, I have a 9x over here and I have a negative 5x over there, okay? And I always like to put my variables on the left, so I want to move that 9x over onto the left side equation. And the only way to do that is by doing the opposite. So 9x is a positive number, so I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides in order to remove it from the right onto the left. So when I do that, I get negative 5x minus 9x is negative 14x. I still have a plus 3 here, and I still have an equals. The 9's go away, or the 9x's go away, and I'm left with a 45. Then I'm going to go back to my two-step problems. So I'm going to get rid of the adding and subtracting first. Since there's a plus 3, I'm going to minus the 3 from both sides because the opposite of adding something is subtracting. And when I do that, I get negative 14x, the 3's are gone, equals 45 minus 3, which is 42. Then negative 14x is the same thing as negative 14 times x. So the opposite of times is dividing. And I'm going to keep the negative symbol with it. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 14. So you have the 14s go away on the left-hand side. And you have x equals 42 divided by negative 14 is a negative 3. There's our final answer there. Okay, so you need to write down your steps. Let's try the last one here. So in this last one, we've got variables on both sides. So again, draw a line down the middle if you need to see where the equation separates. First step, get rid of the parentheses. So distribute this 6 into both pieces. 6 times w is 6w minus 6 times 9. 6 times 9 is 54. Okay, then I'm going to write down the rest of my problem. I still have an equals 2w minus 42. My next step is to combine like terms or get your variables onto one side. So I'm going to get my w's onto the left side. And in order to do that, I got to do the opposite of what's happening. So if I move the 2w, I'm going to subtract it from the right side and subtract it from the left side. When I do that, it's gone from the right. 6w minus 2w is 4w. I still have a minus 54 here, and I still have an equals negative 42. Okay, now I am back to my two-step equation. Get rid of the adding and subtracting first. Since it's a minus 54, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to add 54 to both sides. When I do that, I am left with 4w. The 54s go away, equals negative 42 plus 54 is a positive 12. Then remember that 4w is the same as 4 times w. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to divide by 4 onto both sides. When I do that, the 4's go away on the left side, and I get w equals 12 divided by 4, which is 3. Take your time with these, write down your steps, follow the steps that are outlined for you, and try out the practices in ALEKS. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.